Queensberry era. Back in 1867, the Queensberry rules rewrote boxing. 3-minute rounds with 1-minute rest. A 10 count for knockdowns. And most importantly is padded gloves. Gone were the bare-knuckle brawls and endless, punishing rounds. Now fights had structure, rhythm, and a touch of safety. Rings became standardized, 12 feet across. Wrestling holds were outlawed. By 1882, the Boston strong boy, John L. Sullivan, strode into this new Queensberry world and owned it, the first gloved heavyweight champion. Sullivan packed arenas with his raw power and swagger, often dropping opponents in under 5 rounds. But the biggest shift came in 1908, when Jack Johnson shattered barriers. Fearless, flamboyant, and the first African-American heavyweight champion. Johnson fought with lightning counters and unshakable defense. He broke opponents in the ring and broke racial boundaries outside of it. The Golden Age. The 1920s and 30s were boxing's golden age. Jack Dempsey was the face of the era. Feral aggression, crushing hooks. Dempsey wasn't just a champion, he was a phenomenon. But brains beat brawn in 1926, when Gene Tunney outboxed Dempsey with slick footwork and sharp jabs. Their rematch gave us the famous long count, when Tunney survived a delayed 10 count and cemented his legacy. By 1937, another icon rose, Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber. With textbook power and discipline, Louis carried the hopes of a nation through the Great Depression. His rematch victory over Max Schmeling in 1938 transcended sport. It was a symbolic triumph on the world stage, a statement against the shadow of Nazi Germany. But as World War II loomed in 1939, boxing's golden age drew to a close. The gentleman's era. After the war, boxing entered a new chapter. The violence remained, but the image softened. Fighters wore suits outside the ring, carried themselves with restraint, and fought with discipline and respect. On June 18, 1946, the sport stepped into the television age. Joe Louis defended his title against Billy Conn in the first ever televised championship fight. By 1949, Louis had retired, and the crown passed to Azar Charles, a slick counterpuncher. Charles brought finesse to the heavyweight division, but his reign didn't last long. In 1952, a new force arrived, Rocky Marciano. Marciano's ferocious right hand and relentless pressure flattened Jersey Joe Walcott and launched an undefeated reign that ended at a perfect 49-0. Meanwhile, in the lighter divisions, Sugar Ray Robinson was rewriting the sweet science. From welterweight to middleweight, his silky jab, dazzling footwork, and tactical genius made him the sport's first true global superstar. Weekly boxing shows became primetime events, turning title defenses into blockbuster spectacles. The Ali era. In the 1960s, boxing found its voice and its greatest icon. A 23-year-old Cassius Clay danced into the ring, fresh off Olympic gold. He was fast, he was flashy, and he taunted his opponents with a grin before landing lightning jabs. In 1964, Clay shocked the world in Miami Beach. He floated, he stung, and he stopped Sonny Liston. Soon, Cassius Clay became Muhammad Ali. His career was no longer just about boxing. He refused the Vietnam draft, sacrificing 3 prime years and his heavyweight title. He fought in courts of law as much as he did in the ring, becoming a symbol of defiance and dignity. When Ali returned in 1970, the landscape had changed. Joe Frazier now ruled the division. Their first meeting in 1971, the fight of the century, gave Ali his first professional loss, but the rivalry was far from over. In 1974 came the Rumble in the Jungle. Ali unveiled the rope-a-dope, let George Foreman punch himself out, then unleashed an 8th-round knockout heard around the world. 1 year later came the Thriller in Manila, 14 rounds of war with Frazier, until Frazier's corner stopped it. Ali called it the closest thing to death. His final fight came in 1981, retiring with a record of 56-5. The Four Kings era. The 1980s belonged to the middleweights. 4 fighters defined the decade: Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns, Marvin Hagler. What made this era special? They fought each other. No ducking, no avoiding. Every matchup, a clash of styles. Leonard versus Duran. A trilogy of brilliance and heartbreak. Hearns versus Hagler. 3 rounds of pure chaos, often called the greatest fight in boxing history. Leonard versus Hagler, a razor-thin decision in 1987 that still sparks debate today. The Four Kings weren't just champions, they were rivals. Each wanted to be the best, and they proved it in the ring. The Tyson era. The mid-1980s brought a storm into boxing. His name was Mike Tyson. At just 20 years old, Tyson knocked out Trevor Berbick in 2 rounds to become the youngest heavyweight champion in history, a record that still stands. Short, explosive, relentless. His peekaboo style and thunderous hooks made him a force of nature. By 1987, he unified the WBC, WBA, and IPF titles. The peak came in 1988 against Michael Spinks. Spinks was undefeated, a former champion, confident he could outbox Tyson. 91 seconds later, it was over. Tyson had scored one of the fastest championship knockouts ever, cementing his aura of invincibility. But outside the ring, cracks were forming. Turbulent training camps, legal troubles, and chaos in his personal life followed him. By 1990, the unthinkable happened. James "Buster" Douglas, a 42-1 underdog, shocked the world in Tokyo, stopping Tyson and toppling the empire overnight. 90s era. With Tyson dethroned, the 90s became a decade without one king. Instead, it was ruled by a rotating cast of warriors. Evander Holyfield rose first. A former cruiserweight, he moved up to heavyweight and outlasted Tyson's shadow. In 1992, Riddick Bowe arrived. Raw power, vicious uppercuts taking the crown in their first clash. Holyfield took it back in the rematch, and their trilogy became one of the decade's defining rivalries. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Lennox Lewis was sharpening his jab, patient and precise. Lewis waited his turn. By the late 90s, he unified the division, becoming the most dominant heavyweight of the era. And while the heavyweights traded belts, a new kind of greatness emerged in the lower divisions. Roy Jones Jr., lightning fast, almost untouchable. From middleweight to light heavyweight, his combinations lurked like something out of a video game. In 1999, Jones even captured a heavyweight belt, sealing his legacy as one of the most gifted fighters ever. The Mayweather and Pacquiao era. As the new millennium began, two names rose above all others: Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao. Mayweather is the master of defense. His shoulder roll, reflexes, and timing made him nearly untouchable. Fight after fight, he neutralized opponents, making elite boxers look ordinary. By the time he retired, his record stood at a perfect 50-0. Pacquiao is the warrior from the Philippines. From flyweight all the way to welterweight, he carried speed, angles, and a relentless southpaw attack. The only man in history to win world titles in 8 different divisions. For years, fans dreamed of Mayweather versus Pacquiao, and in 2015, it finally happened. It was the biggest event in boxing history, financially unmatched. Mayweather outboxed Pacquiao, winning a decision and proving his claim as the best ever. The current era. In 2024, Alexander Usyk faced Tyson Fury, the undefeated giant. Their fight crowned Usyk as the undisputed heavyweight champion, the first since Lennox Lewis. It was more than a win. It was history, proving that skill and movement could overcome size. And in the light heavyweight division, another clash for the ages unfolded. Artur Beterbiev, the wrecking machine with 100% knockout power, met Dmitry Bivol, the disciplined tactician who had dethroned Canelo. Their fight for the undisputed crown decided supremacy at 175 pounds, a rare meeting of two undefeated champions at their peak. Today, boxing is more fragmented, but also more global than ever. No single face defines it. Instead, it's a tapestry of champions from Mexico to Ukraine, from Japan to the US, each carving their own legacy.